Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. If you couldn't tell by looking at their X-Wings and leaders, the Resistance in the new trilogy is a direct descendant of the Rebellion. But like many things in life, we only know the beginning and the end of this story. What happened in between? How did Mickey Rourke's face go from this to this? Well, he became a professional boxer. No joke. He's one of the few individuals out there who actually needed reconstructive plastic surgery, but unfortunately he went to the wrong guy and it was all botched. What the hell are we talking about? Oh yes. So what was the Resistance's metaphorical professional boxing career? After winning against the Empire and pretty much taking over the galaxy, why are the descendants of the Rebellion hiding on a planet with very limited resources? J.J. Abrams and Disney wanted to safely reintroduce Star Wars to the galaxy. Our galaxy. And they did this by taking Star Wars and essentially copying the main plot line and taking factions like the Rebels and repainting them and calling them something else like the Resistance. And that's it. That's our episode. Well, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, I'm just joking. Unlike J.J. Abrams, I'm actually going to give you guys a story you might not have heard of before. After the Rebellion took out Scrotum-y McScrotumface's giant resource sink, aka the Death Star 2, and caused the galactic stock market to crash, the Empire slowly started unraveling. This was further helped by Palpatine's diabolical contingency plan, which was basically his way of saying, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna bring everyone down with me. On the other side of the barricade, Princess Leia announced to the galaxy that the Emperor had died and declared the establishment of a new republic. Although most Imperials said that this was just propaganda by the rebels, many systems started joining the new republic and gradually the scales began to tip in their favor. The Emperor's contingency plan goes into its next phase, which is Operation Cinder. This is carried out by some of the Emperor's Sentinels who attempt to destroy several former Imperial worlds. Because, again, if old ballsack McScrotumface is going to die, he's going to drag it down with him. Despite all the craziness, the Alliance to Restore the Republic actually manages to do what their organization name describes: restore the Republic. Which in itself is quite admirable and a lot harder to do than you would think. I once started a non-profit on Coruscant. It was called the Coalition to Prevent Teen Abuse of Death Sticks. After compromising some of my morals and ethics, I one day woke up as the head of one of the largest drug cartels in the lower levels of Coruscant. Talking about Coruscant, everything was going to hell on the surface. There was rioting on the streets, open warfare on every corner, and all of a sudden mysterious caches of weapons were found all over the city, so, everyone could have a gun. It was kind of a nice time to be alive. The local Imperial garrison, which was separate from the Imperial Navy, barely could control the surface of the planet, let alone its depths. Which is where I was safely creating one of the most potent forms of death sticks the galaxy had ever seen. It was even Jedi mind trick proof. There were even death cults rising up that worshipped Darth Vader. The Grand Vizier Masamita, who was the highest ranking Imperial officer left, was effectively trapped on Coruscant, and like any sock puppet, he was eager to find another fist to shove inside of him and articulate his digits and pull him out of the sinking ship that was the Galactic Empire. Because of the unrest and Imperial presence on Coruscant, the Republic decided to choose Chandrila as their new capital. A new Senate was established and they chose Mon Mothma as the Chancellor of the new Republic. As the Republic continued to liberate worlds like Arcanus and Kuat, the Imperials continued to fight each other over dwindling resources and manpower. Masamita was very much just a figurehead at this time. The real power lay in the hands of the various Imperial officers who still had forces underneath their command. Amongst the most powerful Imperial remnant faction was the one controlled by Admiral Ray Sloan, who in turn was controlled by Counselor Gallius Rax. Rax had been trained by Palpatine himself to carry out his contingency plan, and he secretly was working towards the demise of both the Republic and the Empire. He sent Admiral Ray Sloan to Chandrila for peace talks with the Republic, which worked out about as well as your average Syrian ceasefire. Rax had activated hidden Imperial cells, which launched a T-word attack against the New Republic High Command, killing many of them. This, of course, was broadcast across the HoloNet and severely destroyed the New Republic's image. Many factions began questioning whether the New Republic could actually win the war. Luckily, soon after, the remaining Imperial forces in the galaxy gathered around Jakku, forcing a final showdown. The Empire was spectacularly defeated in this crazy battle. I mean, it's really awesome, guys. A Republic Starhawk takes out a Super Star Destroyer by dragging it down to the surface by using its tractor beam. The stormtroopers, without a rigid command structure, began going tribal and started using war paint on their helmets. And when the Imperial Navy was finally destroyed, they went underground and carried out a brutal guerrilla war similar to what the Japanese did in the latter years of World War II. It's all covered in the Aftermath novel series if you're interested. Anyway, as a result, most of the Imperial forces were destroyed, and a small group of Imperial officers managed to escape to the unknown region, where they started creating the First Order. Masamida and Mon Mothma signed the Galactic Concordance, which declares the end of the Galactic Civil War and announced the unconditional surrender of the Galactic Empire. Wary of the growing power of the central government, the New Republic passed the Military Disarmament Act, which turned the Republic war machine into a more manageable peacetime military. Sometime after, the capital was moved to Hosnian Prime, and Chancellor Mon Mothma stepped down as she promised from her post. But the chancellors that followed Mon Mothma were both weak and incompetent, and they turned the New Republic into a bureaucratic mess that featured a two-party system and a very weak executive branch. On one side, you had the populace, who were all about systems rights. On the other side, you had the centrists, who supported a stronger central government. The populists were the Star Wars equivalent of libertarians. They believed in more social and economic freedom. Amongst the ranks were rebellion heroes like Princess Leia. The centrists were authoritarians who believed in a strong central government and executive office. A few of their members harbored pro-imperial sentiment. Due to all the political gridlock, the New Republic was basically incapable of anything. This meant it couldn't protect all of its trade routes, it couldn't even pass legislation and laws that were much needed across the galaxy. Hostile state actors had also infiltrated the centrists and were contributing to the chaos, while the First Order continued to secretly grow on the sidelines. A T-word attack was carried out against the New Republic capital. The event would go on to be known as the Napkin Bombings. Although no one died, its central goal was to create more chaos in the New Republic Senate. Roughly around this time, the centrists proposed a new position of power known as the First Senator. This executive position would have increased control over the New Republic. Princess Leia ran as the populist candidate for the posting, but ultimately was replaced when the centrists ran a very effective smear campaign against her. After revealing that Princess Leia's father was Darth Vader, popular opinion turned against her. It was like the equivalent of being branded the daughter of a Nazi war criminal in our own world. Leia at the time was involved in a series of investigations of a mysterious organization known as the Amaxian Warriors. They were collaborating with seedy underworld criminal cartels and building up a substantial amount of soldiers and weapons. Sensing a serious threat to the New Republic, Leia informed the New Republic with mixed results. Her suspicions turned out to be quite accurate, as the Amaxian Warriors had fashioned themselves as the vanguard of the First Order. With the New Republic refusing to take the appropriate actions necessary to counter a growing First Order threat, Leia got in touch with many of her old rebellion contacts and established a private paramilitary force, and thus began the Resistance, an organization that was underfunded, understaffed, and relied on hand-me-down equipment. The organization had a relatively tense relationship with the New Republic and was generally tolerated but seen as a rogue vigilante organization by certain factions. There's a very cyclical nature to Star Wars that very much reflects and mirrors our own extreme forms of governments here on Earth. On one extreme, a republic becomes entangled in bureaucratic nonsense and is taken over by an authoritarian government when some greater threat requires a more coordinated response. Then, on the other side of the political spectrum, an empire becomes too cruel and controlling and encourages open rebellion, reverting the galaxy back to a republic. And if things are cyclical and the prequels saw the fall of the Republic and the original series saw the fall of the Empire, I can only assume that the new trilogy will see the downfall of the Republic again. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. A special thanks to all you Patreon supporters out there. It's with your help we're able to maintain our editorial freedom in the face of growing YouTube advertiser censorship. Like the First Order, traditional advertisers are threatening to turn YouTube's relatively unregulated platform into something as sterile and boring as regular TV. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be stupid advertising execs who decide what we put on our channel. It should be you, the viewers. So, thanks again, Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.